Very good evening and welcome to the last in the series in the week of Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Rafi. In this edition, energy sector funding expected to feature prominently in the presentation of mid-year budget review expected to be in Parliament on Monday. Cement company Dangote expecting to complete construction of $100 million cement grinding plant in Takoradi to make Ghana leader in cement production. Plus, we'll bring you some commodity prices for the week as provided by Isoko Ghana. You can always get interactive with us if you wish by tweeting at Joy Business GH or by Facebooking the page is Joy Business. And also for more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Taking a short break, more details coming up. Thanks for staying and welcome back to Business Live. In the very first story, Finance Minister Seth Terkper is expected to present to Parliament a supplementary and a mid-year review budget next Monday. Judge Rafi has been finding out more about some of the areas that the budget may touch on and why the presentation at this time.
The presentation has come about as a result of some challenges in meeting most of the macroeconomic targets set out in the 2016 budget. Government was, for instance, looking at an economic growth of 5.4%, end-of-year inflation target of about 10.1%, and a fiscal deficit target of 5.3%. We're also looking at a revenue target of 38 billion Ghana cedis, whilst expenditure was looking at about 43 billion Ghana cedis. The benchmark price of oil revenue, which was also pegged at $53 a barrel, will be reviewed. However, Joy Business is learning that most of these targets will be revised, especially when it comes to the economic growth, which might be reviewed down to about 3.9%, as well as the deficit. The Finance Minister also announced revenue and expenditure numbers for the first half of 2016 and expected fiscal numbers for the rest of the year. He will also be seeking parliamentary approval to spend additional funds that have come in, what some will call the supplementary budget. Joy Business is learning that the Finance Minister wants approval to spend some monies that have come in from the energy sector levy, which is expected to be advanced towards addressing the legacy debts in the energy sector, which was threatening the existence of some commercial banks. Will this presentation help convince investors that government is on track in stabilizing the economy as well as dealing with the overruns? Dr. Joe Abe is an economist.
I think it will take more than words. It will take a backup in terms of more explanation, because you can go and say all manner of nice things to the E. But where, unfortunately, the government of the day must understand is that there is a question about why should I believe what you tell me? I'm sorry, but with so many years in public life, I get news items and I cannot understand what is happening.
Many also will be looking forward to see whether government may come up with some additional measures to check its rising expenditure, especially in an election year.
That was George Rafi. Now, on this particular development, we sought the view of an economist who is also a chartered accountant and a lecturer of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Thomas KISSI BOAFO, who shares his thoughts on what to expect in a mid-year budget review. Let's hear what he says.
When you look at the current trends, you see the commodity, especially our major export commodity, cocoa is picking up gradually, only that the oil situation is where we still have a problem. This means that expect our revenue situation at least to be coming down, because I do not expect anything picking up seriously from the area of the oil. And when we also look at our cocoa, I don't expect any significant improvement in the cocoa output. We have already closed the year and we're just about to start the new crop season. So we don't expect anything to come out from that area. Good is picking up as seriously as we all expected. So we expect a downward trend in terms of our revenue. And when we look at the aspect of taxation, you see the economy did not pick up seriously. When you look at the composite index of business activities, it's not as robust used to be in the previous first half of the previous year, so that we will not be able to do much by way of revenue collection. Most of the businesses are crying. Then again, the return of the subsidy that has been classified as realignment is also another thing that we should be able to look at. And the lesson here, that means we need to clear so many arrears. We also heard about the reintroduction of the restoration of the allowances of nurses.
That was Thomas KISSI, BOAFO, an economist and a lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Now, away from that, MultiChoice Ghana, operators of DSTV and Go TV Ghana, have justified its high service charges on customers. According to the company, the rate of taxation in Ghana and the depreciating value of the cedi have been considerable factors for its pricing mechanism. Many subscribers continue to lament high service charges in the country.
In an interview with Joy Business, General Manager of MultiChoice Ghana, Cecil Sunkwa Mills, noted, for instance, that the imposition of the communication service tax has also been a factor for pricing of their products.
The pricing of DSTV services across Africa is based on some local conditions within country. Ghana has a completely different tax structure, where we've been discussing. It's got you will pay we have one of actually the second highest in Africa, where you pay the normal VAT and NHIL levies of 70%, but we also have been grouped, and the customers also have to pay the communication service tax, which is 6%. So it puts already on almost 25% taxation on your subscription. This we have continued to discuss, and we hope that will also change. That is one. And two is also definitely influenced by the recharge in local currency. So the local currency rate, against the forex also tends to impact, since most of the content that we purchase are directly either dollar or euro or pound based on where we're buying it from. For us, the biggest issue in Ghana is piracy, and for us that is the biggest concern. And we've seen TV stations take sports programs, etc., illegally and show it, and that is the biggest problem, and we have to put up the necessary fight. It doesn't affect only us, it affects the whole creative industry, including your station. And so this is, I think, the biggest problem before any other competition. But competition, apart from piracy, if you talk about competition, for us competition is healthy, because I think if we had a lot more pay TV companies in the country, we probably may have been able to lobby for a different tax structure much faster.
He outlined some challenges confronting the company, which is compounding its operations in Ghana.
Now, cement production company Dangote Cement is expected to complete the construction of its $100 million cement grinding plant in Takoradi, the latest, by March 2018. Aside from creating jobs in the economy, the initiative is also expected to propel Ghana to join Nigeria as a major supplier of cement in the sub-region. The company has been distributing cement in the country in the past 6 years. Etonam Komla Bwami is the media relations manager of the company.
In Takoradi, we are investing $100 million in the Takoradi plant. Work is already in progress. We're hoping that towards the end of next year, we should be commissioning the Takoradi factory. At worst, first quarter of 2018, Takoradi plant should be on board. That is going to be a state-of-the-art cement manufacturing plant. aside we producing cement for the Ghanaian market, we want to transport it to other neighboring countries, and we're also hoping that that will be more like a tourist site, because it will be a magnificent building that everybody would love to see and to use the product that comes from there. So we're going to grind, we're going to do everything that any other cement manufacturing company would do in a typical cement production system. So we're going to follow all the chains of grinding, bagging, everything will be done at that particular plant. It's not just about expansion we are doing. Our focus is investing heavily in the economy of Ghana. If the terminal, for example, is employing close to 5,000 people, direct and indirect, if a fully fledged factory comes on board in Takoradi, you can imagine the number of jobs it's going to create. And so that is heavy investment we are doing into the Ghanaian economy. And so everybody is excited that, hey, Dangote is giving about 5,000 jobs, and we can increase it as 2 times 3 if the...
So you're watching Business Live. Moving on, government has been advised to look for complementary sources of revenue to finance development projects in the country. Alternative sources such as remittances, public-private partnership initiatives, and funds generated from curtailing illicit financial inflows are suggested. Now, latest reports indicate that Ghana's debt has crossed the $100 billion mark and continues to grow. This came up at the launch of the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Untitled Economic Development in Africa report in Accra.
According to a report on economic development in Africa, remittances and diaspora bonds contributed to $63.8 billion as at 2014, whereas illicit financial flows as at 2008 amounted to $854 billion. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the 2016 Economic Development in Africa report, managing partner at CICADA, Philip A. Kobna, said encouraging formal remittance channels and curtailing illicit financial flows could complement development revenues.
The illicit financial flows, we ought to work at our tax administration, our customs bonded customs regulations, GIA, and then its sister companies, to ensure that appropriate and right prices are given for goods coming in and then going out, to the extent that the tax revenues that ought to accrue to us are the exact tax revenues that we got. Because it's very scary, the numbers that we saw. 854 billion over a certain 20-year period of money is going out of our economies. And then what is even more scary is that 1/3 of that amount of money for the same period could have catered to all the development and the external debts of African countries. That's about 279 billion out of the 854 billion could have catered to the external debt of African countries. It means that if we're able to work at this outflow of illicit finances, chances are we might not be as dependent on our development partners as we have been in the past.
The program leader of the World Bank Group, Errol George Graham, was also of the opinion that encouraging private-public partnerships could also inure positively to this agenda.
Well, public-private partnership, I think, holds tremendous opportunities for Ghana, and I'm aware that the government is already moving in that direction through the establishment of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, for example, to establish a framework for public-private sector partnership, and I think that holds considerable promise.
The Economic Development in Africa report analyzes various aspects concerning Africa's development, economic and policy affairs of key interest to various African countries.
Let's now turn our attention to some commodity prices which made headlines in the week.
The price of a bag of maize dropped in two markets this week. A 100-kilogram bag of maize sold for 144 Ghana cedi in Accra, representing a loss of 24% over that of the previous week of 190 Ghana cedi. In Kumasi, the commodity lost 3% to close the week at 175 Ghana cedi from a previous price of 180 Ghana cedi. The prices on the other markets remained the same. On the retail market, a kilo of maize lost 5% in Kumasi to close the week at 2 cedi 30 pesos from the last week's 2 cedi 40 pesos, whilst on the other markets, the prices remained the same. A crate of tomatoes lost on some markets and gained on only one market this week. The highest loss of 32% was made in Kumasi. A crate of tomatoes was sold for 150 Ghana cedi from last week's price of 220 Ghana cedi. Takoradi followed with a loss of 10% to close the week at 450 Ghana cedi from the previous price of 500 Ghana cedi, with Accra also losing 7% to close the week at 233 Ghana cedi. Prices in Techiman gained by 4% to close the week at 250 Ghana cedi from a previous value of 240 Ghana cedi. On the retail market, a kilo of the tomatoes lost by 7% in Accra to close the week at 3 Ghana cedi, with Kumasi also dropping 19% to close at 4 cedi 70 pesos. In Takoradi, the commodity lost 20% to close the week at 8 cedi 90 pesos. In the other markets, the prices remained the same.
So remember, we bring you weekly prices of commodities, selected commodities of course, every Friday on Business Live. We're now crossing over to the international scene to see what's making headlines in the world of business. Thanks for staying and welcome back to the show. Now it's a Friday evening and as usual the stock market has closed for the week. Beta stock market analyst has joined me here to tell us how the stocks fared. Beta, good evening.
Good evening.
What was so significant with the market as it ended today?
Today was a good one for some equities. That FML actually traded very huge volumes of shares today, but we didn't see the price of FML changing. It's still at 8 cedis 50 pesos. Okay. At the close of today, we saw it traded 935,000 shares at 7,956,800 Ghana cedis in 9 transactions or deals on the market, and we didn't see the share price actually change, but it was the highest in terms of volume and value on the stock market. And we also had Intravenous Infusions Limited, that's on the GATS. Yes, trading the second highest, that's 601,200 shares at 54,108 Ghana cedis. And you know, right from with the GATS, let me talk a little bit more about GATS. Now GATS, we have about 4 or 5 equities listed on the GATS, and we have just 2 equities that are actively trading, and that's Intravenous Infusions Limited and HOTS. Now HOTS from beginning of this year is still returning the highest return to investors, that's 25%, and right from IPO till now HOTS has returned 100% to investors. And you can imagine the gains you would have made if you took part in the IPO with HOTS listing on the GATS. So the GATS is actually a very good place for small medium-scale enterprises to actually raise capital to expand their businesses and do whatever that they want to do to ensure that at the end of it, the story or the goal will be to fulfill investors' expectation, and that is very key. Make very good profits and pay dividends and let investors be attracted to your equity. So I advocate that more small medium-scale enterprises should list.
But you know, one of the biggest challenges for these SMEs to list is the bureaucratic nature of the process or the procedure. Let
me tell you one thing. You know, because of the main motive was to get these SMEs to list. If you look at the processes or the procedures for the main listing on the stock market, it's so cumbersome. This has been made very flexible. The thing has to do with getting the right broker, getting the right advisor to take you through the processes. And it's as easy as that. It's so just get your financials strong, get your everything right, and it will be done. The processes and requirements are not as much as listing on the main exchange. And that is it on the GATS. Intravenous and HOTS are trading actively. HOTS has returned the most to investors. Now back to today's market, we saw other equities trading as well. We had Aluex trading only 600 shares, and we saw the price of Aluex go up by a peso to close at 14 pesos per share. And Aluex, if you talk about their full year financials, which is the most current one, is not impressive. The last 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, there was news out there that there was a foreign investor that was going to invest over $25 million into the company, and this is going to actually offset some of their debts that has been holding the company and affecting the company's bottom lines. And after this news came in, you know, after the financials were released, within that week, we saw a 2% drop in Aluwex. After this news came in, we've seen some marginal gains in Aluwex, and today's trade was not an exception. And we see that the news is actually taking effect on the market. Okay, so people are actually responding to this news because it's a very big investment and it's going to turn the company's fortunes around. So Aluwex is one of the big guys on the market now in terms of capital gains, equities that are likely to add up to investors' capital. It is one of them. And we also had EGA trading 1,200 shares at 60 pesos. Yesterday, it lost 5 pesos. That's EcoBank Ghana. Lost 5 pesos, and today is still trading at 60 pesos.
Before you go, which equities should we be looking out for next week?
Next week, from our side, we're expecting some gains in Aluwex, some marginal gains in Aluwex. GCB might drop slightly or be stable. We're also expecting Unilever to also trade actively in the market. FML, looking at the volumes of shares that have been traded, it's possible that it will be stable, but if there will be a price movement, it will be a positive one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's now time to take a look at the interview of the day.
Let me talk about 5 challenges that we believe arise from the decisions that entrepreneurs make. The first is the challenge of low technology. There is a tendency to buy the cheapest technology, but inherent in that low technology choice is a high operating cost. So we need to think hard about our technology choices as business owners. The second thing is the resilience of our businesses. We tend to say start small, and small is beautiful. But when you start so small that you don't even have the operating capital to keep the business going, then you introduce a certain fragility into the business. That means that you are unable to deal with even the smallest shocks. The third thing is the businesses are fragmented. So that integrated thinking across an industry doesn't happen. So everybody is fragmented. That's also an internal choice. The fourth thing is the kind of people we pick. We tend to pick the lowest cost person. And we don't tend to train that person. What happens is that you constrain your business in terms of its ability to generate innovation, to generate original thought, to generate exciting new concepts that will bring new business.
A key issue identified by many SMEs is accessing credit. The major...
Thank you very much for being with me throughout the week on Business Live. It's been a great pleasure having you and also enjoying yourselves with our programs. Do join us again, same time on Monday. Have a great weekend. But meantime, you can get interactive by tweeting at Joy Business GH, and on Facebook, if you're a Facebooker, go to Joy Business, that's our page. For more business news updates, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Apwachi. You are good evening.